A woman who survived being shot 10 times has a warning now for other women tonight.
Her ex-boyfriend kidnapped her, shot her, then drove her through multiple counties. And now she hopes she can inspire women to leave abusive relationships. Channel 2's Audrey Washington is live at DeKalb County Police Headquarters in Tucker tonight. And Audrey, this survivor told you the ordeal went on for hours.
Right, she told me her ex-boyfriend drove her around for hours while she sat in the passenger seat of her car, bleeding out from 10 gunshot wounds.
On November 2nd, 2025, 23-year-old Shamay Pitt agreed to meet her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Joshua Woodruff, in DeKalb County, Georgia, expecting a simple conversation. Minutes later, Woodruff allegedly produced a gun and opened fire. 10 shots. As she bled in the passenger seat, he drove her across county lines for hours. Still alive, she pleaded for help. Just lay me on the grass. I don't want to die in this car. Only when they reached a hospital in Douglas County was she given emergency care, and he was taken into custody. What appeared to be a final talk turned into a crime scene in motion, a drive that would test the boundaries of vengeance, escape, and survival.
I'm sorry.
Shamay Pitt did not think she would survive it.
Right here, I have a bullet wound.
She says on November 2nd, in a fit of rage, her ex-boyfriend Joshua Woodruff shot her 10 times.
I see the inside of me on the outside.
Pitt tells me she agreed to meet with her ex to talk. She says that conversation turned violent and there was a struggle inside of her car.
He steps back, he steps forward, and he starts shooting me. My ears are ringing, but I come into realization that he's shooting at me.
Pitt says Woodruff then drove her from Snapfinger Road in DeKalb County to Douglasville. At one point, she says she heard Woodruff make 2 phone calls.
Basically asked them what to do with my body. I'm scared. I asked him, can I just write a letter to my son?
Pitt says Woodruff eventually abandoned her at a hospital while paramedics rushed her to another hospital in critical condition. Security detained Woodruff. Police charged the 25-year-old with aggravated assault and false imprisonment. Pitt's mother says she wants the charges upgraded.
He needs to be charged for bringing over county lines. He needs to be federally charged for having an automatic switch, which is a federal offense.
A few days ago, the Fulton County DA said Atlanta is under a domestic violence epidemic with nearly 1,000 felony cases pending. Pitt says she hopes more people in an abusive relationship will get out before it's too late.
You see that red flag? Run away.
Stay with us as we unravel this shocking story and uncover the heartbreaking details of what led to this senseless loss. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where you're watching from, and what are your thoughts as the story unfolds. Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's begin. Shamay Pitt was born in a mid-sized urban community where she lived with both parents and 2 younger siblings. Records indicate a stable household with no significant family disruptions during her upbringing. She attended local public schools and was described as responsible from an early age, often assisting in household responsibilities and serving as a supportive figure to her siblings. Community reports describe the family as private but well-regarded, known for maintaining discipline and upholding values centered around education and career advancement. Neighbors and educators reference Shamay's consistency in achieving her goals and acknowledge her respectful demeanor toward authority figures. Her personal values were rooted in ambition, self-sufficiency, and maintaining personal boundaries. Shamay graduated from her local high school with above-average academic performance. She pursued a degree at a nearby community college before transferring to a 4-year institution, where she studied business administration. Her academic report reflects punctuality, regular attendance, and strong performance in analytical subjects. Early ambitions included obtaining a managerial role in corporate business environments. Following graduation, she was employed in a regional logistics company as an administrative coordinator. Colleagues describe her as task-oriented with a structured approach to problem-solving. She was recognized for attention to detail, efficiency in workflow management, and maintaining professionalism during high-pressure situations. Individuals close to Shamay describe her as composed, reserved in personal matters, and selective in forming relationships. Her social circle was small but stable, consisting of co-workers and 2 childhood friends. She engaged in consistent routines, including fitness activities and scheduled community volunteer work. Online activities showed a limited digital footprint, mostly professional updates and occasional posts about career milestones or motivational statements. She did not document personal life or relationships publicly. With no reports of erratic behavior, her lifestyle appeared measured and organized, prioritizing personal development and privacy. There were no publicly documented incidents of past trauma or counseling history. Friends stated she showed no signs of emotional instability or persistent stress. Observations indicated she maintained composure, demonstrated independent decision-making, and displayed clarity regarding future objectives. Before her involvement with Joshua Woodruff, no one identified significant emotional distress or vulnerability. Shamay met Joshua at a social event organized by mutual acquaintances. Initial interactions were neutral, leading to casual conversations and eventually frequent communication. Early dynamics suggested mutual interest with no immediate concerns noted by observers. There were no report of conflict during the initial stages. However, the first warning signs appeared when Joshua displayed discomfort with Shamay's independent routines and minimal availability due to work commitments. The relationship lasted approximately 2 years, with intermittent periods of conflict involving communication disputes and differing expectations. Turning points emerged related to disagreements over personal space, career priorities, and future planning. Several breakups occurred, each followed by brief reconciliations prompted by Joshua's insistence on resolving issues. Witness statements suggest these conflicts escalated gradually over time. Joshua's behavior allegedly shifted from supportive to increasingly controlling. Reports from close contacts indicated signs of jealousy when Shamay spent time with friends or focused on career progression. Instances of manipulation were observed through persistent questioning of her whereabouts and frequent arguments over private matters. Communication records show messages involving demands for reassurance and attempts to alter her daily schedules. While there were no formal reports at that stage, friends noted her decreased participation in social activities. Evidence suggests periods of emotional pressure, including requests to distance herself from certain individuals. According to conversations preserved in text logs and testimonies, Shamay attempted to end the relationship multiple times, particularly after disputes intensified. Responses from Joshua varied between apologies, promises of changed behavior, and visible frustration. In some instances, he continued contact despite her stated intentions to disengage. On one occasion, messages indicated unrequested appearances near her workplace. No formal police reports or restraining orders were filed. She reportedly confided in a colleague about concerns but refrained from taking legal preventative measures. The final breakup followed a disagreement regarding Joshua's persistent demands for clarity on the relationship status. Communication records confirmed that she expressed a desire to move forward independently. An escalation occurred through text exchanges where he insisted on an in-person meeting. She maintained her decision to end the relationship and declined further contact, but eventually agreed to a discussion. The meeting was arranged voluntarily by Shamay with the stated intention of providing closure. She believed direct conversation would end repeated communication attempts. There is no evidence she informed authorities about the planned encounter. Testimony indicates she mentioned the meeting briefly to one friend, without detailing extended concern. Location chosen was a neutral outdoor area, believed to be safe in daytime conditions. She arrived independently. No restraining orders were filed against Joshua. Discussions with close individuals suggest she showed limited signs of fear and minimized concerns to avoid escalation. There is no documented police involvement prior to the incident. At least 2 individuals retrospectively reported sensing potential risk, but did not intervene due to lack of explicit requests from her. Behavioral indicators were present, but no formal action was taken to prevent the meeting. On the agreed day of the incident, Shamay Pitt made arrangements to meet her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Woodruff, to discuss unresolved matters pertaining to their recently terminated relationship. The meeting time was scheduled for the early evening, approximately around 6:30 p.m., at a location chosen by Joshua, reportedly a parking area adjacent to a quiet commercial zone with minimal pedestrian traffic. Shamay left her residence alone, driving directly to the designated location. She informed one acquaintance about her intention to talk, but did not express signs of immediate alarm regarding potential danger. Joshua arrived earlier than agreed. Evidence later revealed he had been at the location for over an hour, waiting in his vehicle. He positioned his car strategically out of direct sight lines. Forensic retrieval of vehicle GPS data confirmed he made no stops en route. Phone records showed no contact made between arrival and the moment Shamay arrived. Upon her arrival, surveillance footage captured Shamay parking and stepping out her vehicle. There was no visible confrontation or raised voices on audio. Within seconds of her approach to Joshua's vehicle, he exited with a concealed firearm. He advanced toward her and discharged multiple rounds at close range. No physical struggle was observed. The entire shooting lasted under 15 seconds. Joshua then left the scene on foot, leaving his car parked, later determined intentionally to avoid tracking. The firearm used was a semi-automatic handgun, 9mm caliber. Investigators recovered 10 shell casings at the scene, all matching the same firing pattern and consistent with rapid discharge in short succession. Ballistic analysis confirmed all shots were fired from the same weapon at close range, estimated between 3 to 5 feet. The ballistic trajectory indicated purposeful aiming toward vital areas, with no evidence of random discharge. Bullet impact patterns confirmed direct targeting. Forensic examination determined the firearm had been cleaned recently. Gunshot residue on Joshua's clothing matched residues at the scene. The weapon, discovered during the arrest, showed signs of having been stored securely prior to the incident, suggesting prior preparation rather than spontaneous possession. The medical examiner reported 10 distinct entry wounds. No defensive wounds were observed, indicating no attempt or opportunity for physical resistance. Bullet fragments were recovered internally and externally, supporting the conclusion that all shots were fired with intent to incapacitate without interval. No direct eyewitnesses observed the moment of shooting, but 2 nearby business employees reported hearing sharp, rapid succession sounds they initially believed to be vehicle backfires. One called emergency services at approximately 6:35 p.m. First responders arrived within 7 minutes. Upon arrival, Shamay was found lying adjacent to her vehicle in a supine position. No signs of movement were noted. Emergency personnel noted multiple gunshot wounds and significant blood loss. They attempted CPR and advanced trauma support. A pulse was not detected. Shamay was transported to the nearest hospital, arriving within 12 minutes of discovery. She was declared deceased shortly upon arrival due to irreversible hemorrhagic shock and critical organ damage. Police officers secured the area immediately. No firearm was recovered initially. Joshua's vehicle was found abandoned and locked nearby. Officers collected initial video input from surrounding buildings to identify direction of suspect departure. The deliberate discharge of 10 shots at close range, directed at vital regions, is recognized in investigative analysis as indicative of intent to eliminate rather than incapacitate. Forensic and behavioral experts associated the repeated firing with fixation on ensuring the subject could not survive. The lack of hesitation between shots reflects elevated determination rather than fear-based reaction. Psychological profiling classified the act as an execution-style assault, exhibiting signals consistent with controlled aggression and predetermined outcome. Joshua Woodruff, born and raised in a suburban area, came from a household with both parents present. No reported physical abuse within the family, though witnesses described low emotional engagement. Employment records indicate inconsistent work history, including temporary labor roles and short-term contract positions. No stable career was reported. He had no prior felony convictions, though misdemeanor incidents involving disorderly conduct were previously documented. Financial records indicated instability. There was no active substance abuse registered. Former acquaintances reported patterns of possessiveness in past relationships, often showing controlling preferences. No prior reports of physical violence were recorded, but several documented arguments resulted in intervention by close friends. Behavioral tendencies included jealousy, abrupt mood shifts, and fixation on relationship continuity even after termination attempts. One prior partner informally reported threatening language post-breakup, but did not pursue legal action. During the legal process, Joshua underwent psychological evaluation by a court-appointed forensic psychiatrist. The assessment concluded tendencies toward narcissistic personality traits, inability to accept rejection, and obsessive behavioral patterns toward intimate partners. No indications of psychosis were present. Behavioral analysis suggested revenge-based motivation linked to perceived loss of control. Expert testimony classified the state as emotionally escalated, but within full cognitive awareness of actions. Investigators secured the area and began evidence collection immediately upon medical personnel clearance. 10 casings were retrieved. Blood spatter analysis confirmed proximity firing. Shamay's vehicle was impounded for further examination. Tire marks were documented, though none belonged to Joshua's vehicle due to his strategic parking location. Nearby surveillance cameras captured partial footage of both vehicles arriving separately and audio confirming gunfire. No additional individuals were identified in the footage. Authorities obtained subpoenas for both parties' phone records. Text logs showed Joshua initiated the meeting and confirmed time details. GPS location tracking placed him at the scene an hour prior. After fleeing, Joshua's phone was turned off. Social media review revealed no threatening public content, but private messages suggested attempts to pressure reconciliation. Call records indicated no emergency contact attempt by the suspect. Employees from nearby businesses reported hearing gunshots and provided approximate timing. An individual passing the adjacent roadway noted seeing a male leaving the scene on foot quickly, but did not initially connect it to a crime. Interviews conducted with friends of both parties confirmed tension in recent days preceding the incident. Some noted concerning comments made by Joshua about ending the situation definitively. Joshua was located approximately 14 hours after the incident via tracking of known contacts and credit card activity. He was found at a relative's residence. Upon arrest, he did not resist and made no immediate statements. Later, during interrogation, he declined to speak without legal counsel. The firearm used was discovered concealed in a nearby property belonging to an associate. Ballistic matching confirmed it as the murder weapon. Joshua did not confess, maintaining silence throughout questioning. Following the completion of the homicide investigation and upon the confirmation that Shamay Pitt sustained fatal injuries resulting from multiple gunshots, the prosecuting authority filed formal charges against her ex-boyfriend, Joshua Woodruff. The charges included first-degree murder, based on evidence demonstrating deliberate planning and calculated execution, illegal possession of firearm, as the weapon used had not been legally registered in his name, use of a firearm in the commission of a violent crime, qualifying for enhanced sentencing. Investigators established that Woodruff lured Pitts under the pretext of reconciliation. The number of shots fired, 10, was noted by prosecutors as indicative of intent rather than emotional loss of control. Text messages from days prior showed repeated attempts by Woodruff to manipulate Pitts into meeting him, supporting premeditation. No plea bargain was initially offered due to the strength of evidence and the severity of the offense. The defense presented an argument centered around emotional instability, claiming the shooting was an act of impulsive behavior resulting from escalating argument during the meeting. They proposed that the defendant was attempting to engage in discussion and that the incident occurred during a heated exchange. Key points raised by the defense included alleged panic triggered by verbal confrontation, claim of temporary loss of control due to emotional distress, attempt to argue second-degree murder, citing lack of premeditation. The defense attempted to shift partial responsibility onto the victim, suggesting she attended the meeting voluntarily despite previous disputes. This tactic was challenged by the prosecution, who introduced records demonstrating repeated hostility and obsessive behavior from Woodruff. Attempts to negotiate a plea to a lesser charge were rejected due to inconsistency with forensic and communications evidence. The prosecution constructed a case based on premeditation and demonstrated that Woodruff orchestrated the meeting with intent to cause harm. Key evidence presented: extracted digital records, including messages confirming calculated planning, cell tower location data placing Woodruff near the meeting location well before the scheduled time, firearm analysis, which links bent casings directly to a weapon recovered during arrest, behavioral history, including prior instances of aggression and obsessive communication post-breakup, witness statements describing the victim's fear of future contact. The prosecution emphasized the number of shots, 10, as excessive for any spontaneous act. They argued this reflected a determined attempt to ensure a fatal outcome. Psychiatric experts for prosecution indicated patterns of possessive behavior before separation. The prosecution further demonstrated that Woodruff researched firearm operations and trajectory prior to the incident, supporting intent. Multiple witnesses provided testimony during trial proceedings, confirmed prior concerns regarding Woodruff's conduct, presented saved messages showing repeated attempts by Pitt to distance herself, confirmed that Pitt sustained 10 gunshot wounds, stated that impact patterns indicated she was targeted at close to mid-range and not in motion during multiple shots, concluded injury distribution supported prolonged attack rather than immediate single discharge, walked through timeline reconstruction based on forensic evidence and cellular data, identified planning behavior, discussed behavioral characteristics of possessive and retaliatory violence in post-separation scenarios. Defense declined to put Woodruff on the stand, citing strategic concerns. After deliberation, the jury returned a verdict of heavy checkmark guilty of first-degree murder, heavy checkmark guilty of firearm possession during a violent crime. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, consistent with statutory guidance for willful and premeditated homicide. The court acknowledged overwhelming evidence of long-term planning and deliberate execution and cited the number of shots as a direct indicator of intent, dismissing the defense's argument of momentary emotional loss. The family released an official statement immediately after sentencing. They acknowledged the court's decision and emphasized the need for broader awareness regarding patterns of domestic coercion and deceptive reconciliation attempts. Key family actions supported legislative advocacy for stronger response protocols to suspected high-risk relationship cases, participated in community forums addressing domestic violence detection and intervention. Following sentencing, community groups organized structured awareness events. Observed reactions included candlelight vigil, not for expression of emotional tribute, but as symbolic acknowledgement of preventable cases. Discussion forums led by legal professionals, focusing on early detection of high-risk breakup scenarios. Workshops targeting parents and educators to identify warning signs and behavior patterns. Several local organizations integrated the case into professional training modules for social workers and legal counselors. Evaluations were conducted on systemic response lapses. Critical points surfaced. No formal legislative mechanism triggered based on digital threat documentation. No law enforcement response prior to the incident, despite earlier indications of stalking or persistent harassment. Absence of predictive assessment when patterns of repeated contact and dependency were identified. Experts concluded that with stronger threat assessment procedures, risk could have been flagged earlier. The case contributed to renewed conversations on incorporation of digital harassment indicators into formal risk classification, progress toward mandated intervention programs post-restraining order issuance, introduction of higher-tier prosecution models for relationship-related threats before escalation. Policy recommendations included enabling protective orders based solely on documented communication, mandatory mental health evaluation for individuals exhibiting obsession post-separation. Studies indicate that individuals who exhibit controlling behavior before separation often escalate to retaliation during or after breakup. Threat patterns tend to be concealed from public view and typically only appear in private messages or conversations with close associates. Case analysis indicates delayed report submissions are common due to belief that situations will resolve privately. Data from similar cases shows that immediate reporting correlates with reduced risk levels. This case demonstrated the absence of an official record despite earlier verbal warnings shared only with friends. Expert testimony confirmed that incidents involving multiple gunshots frequently relate to final stage emotional displacement of control. Research further indicates that individuals prone to manipulation may record false intentions of peaceful closure as cover for planned harm. Supported by review of messages, The victim was subjected to recurring emotional bargaining, requests for final meetings structured around false reconciliation, high-risk profile noted, consistent with established matrix of coercive control. The victim's name has since been used in advocacy programs targeting early intervention, standard case study materials for crisis counselors and law enforcement agencies, internal domestic violence screening modules, validated takeaways. Patterns of possessiveness should not be disregarded. Repeated contact post-breakup warrants risk classification. Meetings with former partners in unmonitored locations pose increased safety threats. The case highlighted the importance of recording communications, the need for individuals to notify official authorities rather than rely on informal support, the necessity of treating repeated digital contact as part of behavioral escalation charting. Documentation suggests avoid private discussions without third-party or legal oversight. Consider early involvement of advocates and legal protective frameworks. Recognize falsified reconciliation attempts as potential diversion tactics. The victim attended a meeting voluntarily, expecting dialogue. The defendant arrived in advance with a loaded firearm. 10 shots were fired. Emergency intervention was unsuccessful. Evidence established premeditation. Defendant was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Indicators present before the incident were not escalated to authorities. Absence of early reporting contributed to unprevented escalation. Cases now referenced in professional risk assessment frameworks. Structured intervention models have been reviewed. As a result, no possibility for sentence reduction exists. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.